Hello, hello, everybody. It's Tuesday here in San Francisco. It's about 12:30. I'm a little bit late. I'm sorry. I've been having a bit of some Wi-Fi issues here. Supposedly, I have like a really fast Wi-Fi thing, and it always shuts down. So I think it's time to go with another company. But I've been talking a lot about like my lessons with self-doubt, and I really wanted to share that with you today because I feel like I call this a spiral journey, right? Because we think that we learn things and then the lessons come back in our lives in a different way because they're kind of testing us like, hey, did you really learn this? And self-doubt, as I mentioned before, some of you know, has been kind of an issue that I've been working with my entire life. And finally, instead of trying to like solve self-doubt and running away from it, I figured out that it's time to befriend it, understand what it has to say, and now leverage it to align better with my brand and at my true north. I've been talking about true north. I'll be talking about that later this week about true north and what that means in our brand. But we all have a personal brand, a business brand that was written in the stars at the moment our businesses took its first breath. And we can see this in our astrological natal charts, whether or not it's for your own personal natal chart or your business's natal chart. And this can provide us with our true north, right? This is something that instead of doing things like other people do it, we're doing things the way that we are supposed to do it, right? And then oftentimes self-doubt comes in the way and it can stop us in our tracks. So today what I'm going to be talking about is what self-doubt is, what it looks like and how it can show up in our businesses and in our brands, how we can look to our Saturn and our Mercury to help us understand a little bit about how self-doubt fits in our lives. I'm gonna be sharing a little bit about like my personal history with self-doubt and the other side of that with overachievement, and what self-doubt wants us to know, and how we then can finally become friends with it instead of avoiding it. All right, so I'm just going to be checking here my computer because I'm not really sure if I'm online. I'm crossing my fingers I'm online. All right, so here we go. So as you guys know, I'm Leslie Tagorda. I am your brand navigator. I'm brand navigator for visionary women business owners who want to align to their own true north, right? What we're talking about is your own vision, not somebody else's vision, but your own vision. And I hope you want to share your vision with the world, right? So I can help you with that. So let me ask a question. Have you ever fallen into that trap that all the little voices in your head, you start listening to them, they start nagging at you, they start questioning you. And sometimes these little voices can just like put the brakes, put the dampers on whatever excitement we've had in our business, whatever energy we've had in our business, right? Sometimes these questions sound like, are you really going to do that? Who do you think is going to like you? I'm not good enough. Why am I doing this? I'll never be successful. I'll never be beautiful enough. I'll never be worthy enough. I'll never make enough money. I'll never be as good as so and so. I'll never be like them. What do I do next? All of these kinds of like questionings and comparisons, I kind of group them all together in this idea of self-doubt, right? And I'm guessing here, but I I'm totally 100% guessing, but I will bet a ton of money that every single one of us has dealt with some self-doubt in our lives, right? I don't think that there's a single person that has not dealt with self-doubt, like a single person that just thinks that I'm perfect enough, I'm good enough. I mean, spiritual teachings have us examining that I am worthy, I'm enough, this idea of getting around the self-doubt, right? But if we all have self doubt in our lives, if every single human being on this planet has self doubt, it must have a purpose more so than just to stop us in our tracks, right? So has and hi Kiati, are you there still? So what what is the purpose of all of these little voices, right? To me, comparison is also another thread of self-doubt. Comparison can look like, oh well, this person has such a beautiful brand, I'll never be as good as her, or this person also offers business astrology, I'll never be as good as this person. Oh, this person also has a similar branding or business plan or model as me, I'll never be as good as this person, right? If we were all to stop doing what we are doing just because we think that somebody else is doing exactly what we're doing, then nobody would have a business, right? There is enough for all of us. And I know it's easier to say, okay, well, when we're in that mental space of comparison, it's easy for me to tell myself, hey, don't worry about that. They're not offering exactly what you're offering. And we can intellectualize that, but sometimes it takes a little bit of deeper feeling in order to actually overcome that. All right, so let's get into this. So, self-doubt, why it's really important to know what it is and to acknowledge it when it comes up, right? Yesterday I got a note from a Crystallize alumni, Deborah Tash. She's an amazing artist and a healer. She's also an astrologer, and she was sharing with me that over the last few months she too has also been struggling with kind of self-doubt that has come up. And her self doubt was expressing itself as, I'm not good enough. Now, I'm not good enough. Um, yeah, that one is a really hard one. And we can intellectualize it, right? We can say, well, I am good enough. Well, let's take it back. When we hear something like, I am not good enough, we have to question that, right? Is that truth or is it not truth, right? So when we question, I'm not good enough, is it truth, right? Would other people say that I'm not good enough? Yeah, there might be some people who would say that I'm not good enough, and there's a whole lot of other people that say that's not right. You really are good. You really are talented, right? So when we're faced with this kind of truth or untruth, if indeed it's telling us that we're not good enough, then this is how we can leverage it for our brand. So if we decide that, okay, it's universal truth that this, whatever I'm providing, whatever I'm offering, whether it's art or a class or a talk, is not good enough, well, then this is how we leverage it. Well, what's not working? What is working, right? We get to now question this question that's back to us. We can't just take it as 100% truth, I'm not good enough. We get to have a conversation and a dialogue with us. And that's actually what I think self-doubt is here to teach us. It's here to teach us that it's this little bug in our head that is asking us, are you aligned with your highest truth? Like, is this really something that you're supposed to be doing? Or is it something that you think that you should be doing, but it's not really aligned? And if it is aligned and you are supposed to be doing that, then it's asking us, is there a way that you can improve it? Are you showing up as the best person that you can be doing, or are you selling yourself out short, right? That's what I'm thinking that it's all coming to. So when we look at self-doubt, earlier I was talking a little bit about Saturn and Mercury. And the reason why I like to look at these two planets when dealing with self-doubt is because the placement of Saturn, now Saturn is the archetypal energy of kind of restraints and structures and contraction. Think of like, like the grandfather, not the loving, kind grandfather, but the grandfather that was always giving you rules and always giving you kind of boundaries of what you needed to like work within. Now, that grandfather wasn't just giving you rules and boundaries, well, hopefully to be just mean, but he was really giving you boundaries because he wanted to protect you. I'm thinking of the grandfather from Peter and the Wolf. There's this children's story and symphony about Peter and the Wolf, and Peter likes to go past the gate beyond the meadow to play, but that's where the wolf lives, and the grandpa was always like scolding him, saying, don't go beyond the gate, don't go beyond the gate. Right? That's Saturn. Saturn is telling us, here's our boundaries, here's our structure that we need to live in. And so oftentimes this can show up as self-doubt, especially if you have a Mercury placement that isn't that might be a little bit watery. Why I say watery is because like with a Mercury placement in a water sign, Mercury is about processing information. Mercury is kind of like our mindset, but more so than our mindset and our belief set, it's about how we take in information and how we explain information, right? So if you have Mercury in kind of a watery sign where you're dealing with a lot of feelings and sometimes things are not clear, like if it's in Pisces, hello Mercury in Pisces, I can be really unclear with myself as well with others sometimes, even though my intention, what I have, the logic in my mind is great. But when you have a Mercury that's in a water sign, sometimes we really need to dive a little bit deeper to get some clarity. So with Mercury, with our ability to process information coming in, and then as well as process information and knowledge coming out, when we look at that Mercury place with our Saturn, we can really see and determine whether or not is something that is going to really help us or hurt us. So for me personally, I have a Mercury square the Saturn, and Saturn is in my first house, right? And so also the placement of Saturn, if you have Saturn that is placed in an angular house, the angular house is the first house where your rising sign cusp is, or your fourth house with the nadir intersects it, or the seventh house, or the 10th house, okay? First, fourth, seventh, and 10th. These are our, it's called the cardinal cross. These are our angular houses. These are basically, if we think of our chart, our natal chart, it's hanging on these four posts, right? And so the first house, the house of ourselves, the house of our leadership ability, the house of who we believe ourselves to be. If you have Saturn there, oh my goodness, like me, I'm always questioning. Ever since I was a little girl, I've always been ultra sensitive about questioning, am I really supposed to be here? Am I really doing this right? And, at a nice 45 years old, even though I have accomplished much in my life and been that overachiever, the questioning, Saturn has both helped me and held me back, because the fact that Saturn is questioning me has pushed me to achieve way more things than I ever thought I could achieve. And yet in the same way, it's also held me back. So let me explain this a little bit more. Some of you know that I am also a professional clarinetist. I've been playing the clarinet since I was in the 6th grade, and ever since I was in 6th grade, I've always been really good at the clarinet, and I really, 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 really loved it. And if one chooses to go into the world of classical music and decides that they're going to be a professional musician, self-doubt is something that we have learned to harness, right? And I never realized that in all of my trainings and I went to a very elite conservatory for my undergrad, and then I got also a master's degree in music. And what we learn as a musician is that we're constantly listening and refining things. So even though I might have been playing the same concerto for 1 year, 2 years, a decade, 2 decades. Yes, I have. Have I ever gotten tired of this one concerto? No, I haven't actually, because every time I come back to it, even if it's on a daily practice, I learn something new about it. And I've trained myself to listen with an open ear on how I can improve each and every minutia of this one concerto. And so, in a way, having Saturn in the first house there really helps me. And if we can learn how to use our own personal Saturn, then we can use this to leverage our own businesses. All right. And I know that most of us here are overachievers. We're always looking to perfect learn new skills. And this is thanks to Saturn, right? So we can, instead of running away from self-doubt, what I want us all to really take away, and myself, mostly when I'm saying what I want us, I'm telling these stories for myself, like I'm trying to learn these stories for myself, is that Saturn is here for us. Self-doubt is here for us. Right? So when we're looking at Saturn and listening to our self-doubt, it wants us to befriend and understand it. It wants us to understand its teachings. It wants us to understand that it's asking us if we are being true to ourselves. Now, oftentimes, self-doubt is the loudest when we are not fully energized. Right? What I mean by this is when our batteries are not full, when we've been working too hard or giving too much, we haven't done enough for ourselves, whether it's self-care or play or resting and napping or just going to yoga to recharge our batteries, right? So when our battery starts depleting, that's when self-doubt starts to get really, really, really loud, right? When self-doubt gets really, really loud, the first thing that we want to do is to re-up our battery, re-energize, right? And then when we're re-energized, we can then have a dialogue with self-doubt. We can then ask, hey, self-doubt, you're telling me that I'm procrastinating right now and I'm beating myself up over procrastinating because I don't want to put this launch plan together. Well, why don't I want to put this launch plan together? Why have I been procrastinating with this for a week now, 2 weeks now? I've been procrastinating for 2 weeks with this launch plan. Does this launch plan, do I really want to launch? I think I should launch because I've been told that I need to relaunch this program. Wait, who told me that I need to relaunch this program? Oh, I told myself that I need to relaunch this program. Well, do I really need to relaunch this program or do I need a break? So these are the questions that I have been asking myself, right, when self-doubt or procrastination comes in. And what I've been finding is that procrastination actually has been saving me from something that I didn't really want to do, that wasn't really 100% aligned with my true self. Right? And how would I have gotten to that if I didn't actually sit with my self-doubt, with my procrastination? I'm not good enough. This program isn't good enough, right? Now that's one example of self-doubt. Another example of self-doubt is when a client or a community member is telling you, well, you're really good at this one thing, but not so good at another thing. Now, when my battery is very low, I started internalizing this. I started going, oh my gosh, I do suck at this. Why am I doing this? And I allowed that comment to really send me sideways. But in reality, if what I needed to do is I needed to re-up my battery so that I could sit with this information. Well, okay, so this person is telling me that they don't like this one thing that I offer, but is that the truth? Is that my truth, or is it their truth? Now, if my battery is really low, I'm going to just believe anything that anybody has to say. I'm not going to believe in my own personal truth. But now that I've re-upped my battery and I'm looking at that same critique that people have given me, or a person has given me, or a community member has given me, I'm going, actually, that isn't true. That is their truth, not my truth, and I don't need to embody that. So that was the other example of when self-doubt comes in. Now, this other form of self-doubt, this third kind of example. So the first example was like, okay, am I aligning to my greatest truth, right? Procrastinating. Is this really what I want, or is this thinking I'm what I should be wanting, right? That's one type of self-doubt. The other type of self-doubt is when something is coming externally and you're embodying it internally. You have to question, is it my truth or is it their truth, right? The third type of procrastination is, for example, I'm reworking my freebie. I'm reworking my course right now. I'm super excited because I do 100% believe in my course. And I've given it a few times now, and each time I want to up it. Each time I want to polish it up and make it even better. And so when my battery is low and when self-doubt is like really, really, really loud, self-doubt is just telling me that my course sucks, right? And that's not true. That's 100% not true. But when my energy level is so low, I can't really question it. Now that I'm reamped up, I'm like, oh yeah, my course doesn't suck, but I want to improve this. I want to improve that. And now I have all of this energy to actually take it up to the next level. So you see how self-doubt here is now a teacher to us. It's asking us, hey, are you aligned with what you really want? Or are you doing something that you think you should be doing, right? Self-doubt is also asking, hey, is this your truth or is this somebody else's truth, right? And then self-doubt is also asking us, is this the best that you can do, or can you improve it and polish it up even more? Right? So this is how we can use self-doubt to leverage and elevate our business, right? And this is the takeaway that I want everybody to understand, is that self-doubt really, really, really is our friend, and we can learn a lot of lessons from it. But in order for us to be able to talk to and befriend self-doubt, we really need to have our energy levels high. Again, because if we are depleted, if we've been giving too much, if we are tired, if we are not in a good space, then self-doubt just becomes this like tsunami of emotions, and it just stops us in our track. So first thing, of course, when you have self-doubt, make sure that you have enough self-care and energy to be fully rested and re-energized so that you can have this dialogue with self-doubt. So I hope that everybody found my lessons that I've learned for myself helpful for you. And if you have any questions and want to take a look at your Saturn placement and your Mercury placement about some questions to ask yourself when dealing with self-doubt, or what self-doubt means in a certain aspect in your life, please, please, please let me know. I would love to hear also what kind of challenges you deal with self-doubt, because just share them with us. It empowers you, and to know that we are all here to support you. All right, have a good day, everyone. Bye.